Alright, so these are some of the tools for thatching that are common. Some of the groups are common. Depending on where you are, you might have different ones. So right here you got a rake. Everybody has a rake. This is a groundskeeper rake. It's a little bit more expensive than most of the rakes out there. This one's just kind of nice because you can replace the individual tines when they break off. You can even replace just the head, just the handle, which is really convenient. You don't have to just throw the whole thing away when it starts to fall apart, which is nice. And they claim that it's easier to rake. You don't have to use as much effort to put some force into the raking, which is true. It's nice. I say pick one up if you have a chance. It's going to be well worth it. Next to it is a power broom attachment. This is one that fits on a steel combi system. Everybody kind of has their own one that fits on their string trimmer attachments. So this has the paddles on it. It will just get the thatch out. It won't really dig into the subsurface soil. So you can get bristles, and the bristle brooms, you can get them as like powered pull behind units mounted on the front of machines as an option. That'll get down and actually work into the top surface of soil and get the thatch out. So it's kind of a nicer option if you don't want to buy a whole different unit and you don't want to rake. A power broom's kind of a nice idea. Then you can use it on like scrubbing at your hard surfaces, your driveway, moving a little bit of snow as well. Now this is a spring tine rake. This is a front mounted one. You have toe behind ones. There's ones that don't have the guide wheels on it. The machine pushes it or pulls it through and it tears out the dead thatch. This one I just like because it mounts on the front of the machine, so I can rake it out and then pick it up with the mower, and I have a separate vac system to create more suction to pull out all the debris. And this one's made by Jericho. This is kind of my go-to for most lawns. Now this is a Bluebird power rake. As you can see, it's a power rake. Some of them are called lawn combers, depending on what you have and where you are, but most of them are called a power rake. So this one has the flail blade cartridge on it. As you can see right here, flail blade, typically when it hits something hard, it'll just move, as you can see. You can get a cartridge with spring tines on it that they look like the spring tine front rake or the groundskeeper hand rake. So just think of those tines just spinning around, and it doesn't really dig into the soil. These flail blades will dig into the soil. If you set it low enough, it can dig really deep into the soil. And then you can get a cartridge that's a verticutter cartridge, which is something that we can talk about another time. I don't have it. I'm kind of looking to buy one just to give it as an option as a service. But with these flail blades, you can get down into the soil. You can kind of level out some high spots with it. I've used it where some people just wanted the that's for like I said, I've done that on a couple of jobs that people are just looking to try to get some grass to grow, just something rather than bare spots, and they didn't want to go through aerating and such. So with this machine you can do that. It does rip up the soil in any of your weak grass, so that's something to be careful of. And one tip I would use with the adjustment, for the height adjustment, is unless you've used one and you know kind of what height to go with, start out with one and give it a test. Start out going lower and lower just to see how low you want to go, because you don't want to go too low and then you just have barely any grass and it's all dirt. So kind of check your height there. Some people I've seen, they throw it down low and it's a pretty messy situation after. And I use that on yards that really have just a major dieback from either a chemical burn, disease, or bug problem. I'll use this machine. it's really versatile in that situation. But that's easy to get as a rental. The rest of these are kind of you purchase on your own unless you live in an area that has a really good rental place. So now this lawn, any debris that's fallen into the lawn, like acorn shells, little sticks, and typically with the lawns too, they have the grass, individual plants have a life expectancy, and they do just die off sometimes, or they have spurts that from heat or drought or over the summer, the winter, it'll just die off. Or you get grass that'll grow horizontally, not vertically, so then you get it kind of matted and intertwined with other grass. And when you thatch, you're raking that all up and getting it to stand up. And then when you cut it, everything's cut at the same height, because you don't want to get matted down, especially if you have dead grass in it too. That's where bugs like to get into, and then you have a bug infestation. You have diseases that like to get into this matted thatch zone. So then you have either massive die-off or the grass just doesn't look well. And you want to also remove it so that you can get fertilizer and water down to it more efficiently. You either end up using more water or more fertilizer to try to get the lawn to work, because it's trying to work through that thatch layer. So when you get rid of that, everything can get down to the soil and into the root system a lot faster. That being said, if you have a bug infestation problem, thatch, bag it, treat it. If you have a lawn disease problem, if it's a fungus like red thread or anything like that, thatch it, bag it, treat it. The treatment will get to it. It'll look bad for a while. Water it. Give it a little bit of fertilizer, like a half a dose or quarter dose if you want to feed it along a little bit each time. You can do that. It's going to look bad, but it'll come back in a little bit. In typical times, you can either do it in the spring, kind of get that lawn picked up from being laid over in the winter. And fall is a good time just to get all the debris out of it from the summer if you had any issues with it. And then you can easily feed it, and the fertilizer will get into the root system, so that over the winter and next spring you have a really good lawn. So those are your typical times, unless you have a insect problem or a lawn disease problem. Other than that, it's kind of either spring or fall as far as the decision on when to do it. I hope this helps. This is just kind of to get you in there. Like, verticutters are a totally different thing. There's a lot of videos on that you can see if you're looking into that. If your rental company has it, then you're pretty good. But those are the typical tools and kind of what you need to do with thatching. All right, thanks.